One man under par, one transfer portal, NCAA coaches on the hot seat in June. We got a lot coming. But first, Joseph, hit that theme music. Welcome back to Chat It Up Sports, episode 125, right, Joseph?
125, baby.
125. We have got a solid crew here tonight in the hot box that is the foundation. To my right is the man that is going to take away my poor knees, making me play in this pickup basketball league, Drew Rogers. Welcome back, my friend.
Yeah, we got a doubleheader open the league this week. I don't think I'm ready. I know you're not, but I don't think I am either.
No, I'm trying to condition the knees. We've been running. We lost a little weight. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
But the man behind the scene who's going to definitely lose weight tonight in this sauna that we're in, Joseph Guthrie.
Brother, it is a sweat pool, and just like some hot seats, I am in a hot seat, and it is burning back here, baby.
Burning.
Burning.
We are going to definitely talk about some coaches on the hot seat because we just want to have some college football talk today. We're going to get you back to the episode in 1 second, but first we're going to give you a little list of sponsors. First, we are brought to you by Barra's Custom Cabinet Refinishing, a local Chattanooga staple for the past 24 years. Barra's Cabinet Refinishing is going to bring you the best custom cabinetry in the Scenic City. From custom cabinet refinishings that breathe new life into existing cabinetry to cabinet refacing and modification that transform and optimize the space in the home. Boys, I can tell you, I need that with a little one around. The people over at Barra's simply deliver the goods. So, for a winning team that's always going to bring you the best, trust Barra's, an official sponsor of Chat It Up Sports. Head over to the website, barrascabinetrefinishing.com, to get your free estimate today. And you tell them Chat It Up Sports sent you get 5% off. I got the itch this week. I know we were just talking about it. We're not going to talk about the NBA Finals because we got the game 5 tonight, so just going to let that one ride. We're going to film this early because, we got families to get back to. So you did mention that this thing is dragging on way too long now, Drew.
Yeah. It's my number one. It's my number one complaint about most major sports leagues. I think they think that suspense needs to be built up longer than it does. It absolutely drives me crazy about March Madness. The first, round 1 and 2 are electric. I hope nobody I work with watches this. So I basically, that's my job when round 1 and 2 are on, is to watch March Madness. It's the same thing with the NBA. They take a week break in between the conference finals and the NBA finals, and then they back it up by, why? I get it, travel, rest, but these guys, they get paid $200+ million, some of them, to show up, to keep their body in the best tip-top shape. Why can't they do 2 days, back and forth? Yesterday you mentioned it before we came on, it needed to be on Sunday this week, and it did.
Fact.
And it drives, the only one that this works for is the Super Bowl, because it's the Super Bowl. Yeah. The rest of these leagues need more self-awareness.
I'm trying to look up here the flight from OKC to Indianapolis. 2 hours.
Yeah.
On a private charter.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And we dads get 1, maybe 2 if you're a good boy and you can get your birthday. We get 2 days a year to enjoy and get out of whatever we want to get out of. So let us have the closeout US Open and an NBA Finals game in the same day, because there's no chance dads are getting to watch that tonight. You got to make up for yesterday.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. I lived that life today. my wonderful job has been able to afford me time as daddy daycare, and I'm learning my lessons that I'm in the very screwed area of dad expertise because she's already getting her way. We're crawling, we're climbing up things. If it's not supposed to go in her hands and definitely in her mouth kind of deal now, that's what she's going to go after. And I'm learning these things every hour because she loves my dog dearly, And she goes after that little bone that he chews on all day. It's just nasty. It's got hair on it. And now we have to figure out ways to say no, but she's not old enough to understand no all at the same time. It's a tough spot, boys. So yesterday could have been a great day. I could have got away with hours of sports. We had a good Father's Day, hung out at the families. I could have watched the U.S. Open, gone home, put the little girl down, got ready for the NBA Finals. But no, not this Monday. Not this Monday, Drew, because they dragged some John. And I get it. Nobody wants to just hop into baseball season, but the NBA Finals are taking forever.
Yeah, it takes too long. I mean, the 7-game series works. The model works really well, and I do really like and enjoy the 7-game series model.
Yes.
But at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, like, okay, what percentage of the population is going to tune in? Like, at what point are the ratings the NBA scheduling fault? And I think that's where it falls right now. I mean, it just should not take 2 months for the playoffs to fully commence if everything goes the distance.
Yeah. I would say you watch the most NBA out of pretty much our entire group. Like, idealistically, like, what are your best nights for if they could just schedule the finals on these days? Like, what would be your go-to nights? Like Tuesday, Friday, or?
Yeah, I think I watched Friday's game 4 out, and it was a great experience. And I think that's what the NBA is designed to be, is kind of a got people like me that watch League Pass or get super deep into it. I don't think that's the NBA's target market, and it shouldn't be, because you can't you're not going to make a ton of money off that. I mean, like, I can't tell you how many people we were out with that don't know anything about the Thunder or Pacers, don't follow the league at all, that sat there and watched the game with me because they were it was on, and it was more interesting than whatever else was on at the time, lacrosse. But I think that's where they should be looking, is how can we get the most eyes in public, not in private household TV scenarios. How can we get the most eyes on them?
Yeah, because it's hard to keep people engaged, especially nowadays. Like, the wife, like, she wants to watch a show or whatever. Like, sometimes I could sneak in and I'll watch it late. But dude, the 8:30 start. I mean, I get it, West Coast time, but this has been a weird one. And I get the markets and whatnot, the two teams where they're at, but this one just felt like they've missed the mark on a few things.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
The logo was huge.
Yeah,
in the first 2 games, the digital logo's, I guess, better, but like, dang, man, swings and misses by the NBA in a couple aspects, because this has been a pretty good series, and you could have made stars out of 2 or 3 guys.
Absolutely,
yeah. Like, you lean into TJ McConnell being the Indiana white dude. Like, I know that's crazy to say, and I'm not trying to be racist or anything. It's just like one of those things that, there's a couple dads out there that'd like to see a 6'1", 180-pound guy balling, and so they can use the whole quote of, well, that's how we used to play. We need that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a failure by the league to promote these young stars for what they are. These are 2 really fun, really young, exciting teams for the most part. There's some veterans on either side.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look out on the court, it's Tyrese Halliburton and Shea are just not marketed the way that guys like Steph and LeBron are, and they just never will be. And I think that's the primary failing. We can talk all we want about it being too long, and maybe most of that is a product of our attention spans these days. But I think that's the primary failing. The SGA, who's probably the best player in the league besides Nikola Jokic, is not being pushed to the level that 40-year-old first round exit LeBron is.
Yeah, and it sucks too, because Shea's the exact superstar you want. No issues, no problems. Cool guy, gets to the line, does all the little things, plays defense, but he's zero drama. and you need that in the NBA, especially like an individual sport. I mean, looking at old Stephen A. Smith here, he's been the most marketable thing on freaking TVs during this whole thing. So it's kind of crazy to see that they got to find it elsewhere with a man playing solitaire. You know what? Chill, all right? But yeah, dude, Halliburton's been great. I mean, Chet's somebody that's like, it's just watching this freak of nature, but I think Chet had a really weird spot he was in because he was this 7-foot mobile freak of nature. And then the next year, there's another guy that came across that was even more mobile and more tall and all the other things. So it just didn't really work out for him. Those are the little things that they need Wemby to turn out to be great, get to some finals. I don't know. I don't know where it's going to come to next, but they just kind of did a bad job on this, and that's all I'll say about that. But I did want to get to a point real quick on the NBA. The Desmond Bane trade, I heard about 3 different versions of this. Okay. Bane is going to be great for Orlando. And look, the two sides of like the Memphis part is they're either going to blow it all up or they're just going to revolve around Ja and Triple J. And they're going to use this to become younger. And the third part was now all those picks that they gave up from Orlando are just going to be middle of the road. They don't matter anymore. They're so win now that it doesn't even work for Orlando. So why use those picks and have those picks for the future? Because you're young, you're talented, and you see that the Indiana Pacers can make the NBA Finals and possibly win.
Definitely.
So that new standard in the East is lower, I guess. Lower.
Yeah.
So now you're like, if we get Desmond Bane, a top 35 player in the league, along with Paolo, along with a lot of young talent, we can do it.
Yeah.
And so those 4 first-round picks aren't that aggressive anymore. Like it sounds like so much, and it makes no sense to like a football fan.
Yeah.
But now it's huge. Yeah. It's huge to I can just get whoever for 4 first-round picks, and I'm going to be able to change my game because one player matters so much more than any other sport, like in basketball.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, this is obviously a move. I've noticed the league over the past, 3 or 4 years. There's these teams. Take the Rockets, take the Grizzlies, take the Magic. There may be a few other examples. The Pacers right now, the Thunder, they can run 1 through 14 out there. Yeah. And they're so deep and they're so young on the back end. That's how good everybody is that's coming into the league. But unfortunately, just because they can play doesn't mean – I mean, the Magic haven't won 1 playoff series with Paolo and Franz as a core. So I think the addition of Bane, even if he gets you to the second round or the conference finals over, a first round exit, I think it's worth it to add the experience to a guy like Paolo. Honestly, I'm still jury's out on Franz. I like him. I don't know. He's just kind of shrunk in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he's been injured. Both he and Paolo have. But it's not so much as a win now of like, what are we going to do with these picks? Like what?
Yeah.
Like what player are we going to score at 21 that's going to be any better than the Caleb Houston or Jet Howard, who we already have? We've already spent high to mid first round picks on these guys. They're not playing for us. Why not try to get a 20-point a game guy? And then for the Grizzlies, I think I think this is a reset. Like, it's not a hard reset; it's a soft reset, but it's a Ja Max, JJJ Max, Bane Max. Those are your top 3. Who are you going to take over those 3 guys in the West? And this year was proof all the more. Nobody. Nobody picked them. They got beat by 55 or whatever it was versus OKC.
I did forget about that.
55 points. Marvin Bagley was the best player in that game because they had to pull everybody so early.
Yeah.
So I see this. I don't know if the Grizzlies are done. I think the price also was indicative of the fact that the Magic had to get rid of KCP. A guy that
a fail.
Yeah, a guy that was really good for with Jokic and LeBron, and outside of playing with those 2 guys, he hasn't been anything, and that's extremely that's probably extremely disappointing for the Magic because the Magic on offense this year were just a bear to watch. They were terrible. Like Like it was just Paolo Franz, please bail us out. We don't have anything. And I think they were hoping KCP comes in and, is that swing guy. Well, now they've added, KCP with, way more potential, way more, proven scoring track record. And I think the price was warranted for both sides, because now the Grizzlies add that Phoenix pick, and they add that swap, which is they get the best out of whatever. It's like Washington and 2 other teams. And the Grizzlies are in a tough spot because their best player and a guy who is honestly supposed to be the face of the league he's not tracking there anymore.
No.
He's fallen into second tier. Like, definitely still one of the most notable names up here with anybody. John Morant sells more jerseys, more shoes than anybody. But as far as first tier, this guy is a winner superstar. He's nowhere close anymore. And he honestly won't be until he stays healthy. But the Magic have just kind of now lucked into a situation where the Cavs and the Pacers are their 2 biggest opponents. The Celtics will be weaker. They have to trade people. Jason Tatum is out for a year. Who knows if Giannis Antetokounmpo will be in Milwaukee in 2 weeks. So I feel like this is let's go for it. Let's get the experience. Even if we get beat, what are we going to do with these picks?
Yeah, you finally get a spacer. And you also get somebody that adds to that. Like, Orlando's become like the tough team now.
Yeah,
and so now you're adding somebody that can actually space the floor, because their shooting was abysmal, like you mentioned. It was brutal to watch at times. And they're getting rid of somebody who I love as a Carolina fan. Cole Anthony is now gone.
Yeah.
But they will enjoy him in Memphis.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll fit a little better as a backup guy. You're going to add a different level of athleticism too. And so Memphis is doing a move that I don't know if it's going to be right. You just have to trust that front office, because they have to keep it alive.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tank on that team. I don't know if the Presti formula works for everybody. So, like you said, it's not going to be a hard reset, but it is a reset, and it's going to be necessary.
Yeah.
I just think that if you can get Ja back to where he was, you still have an unbelievable market for basketball guys. Basketball guys will go play. Like, too many people want to win now, and you can be famous anywhere now, and so it doesn't really matter. And Memphis is cool to some people. Like, they're going to love it and they'll have fun. It's like, let's go hoop. I got Ja, and hopefully he gets some maturity in his body and his mind. So that is a big thing for us. We'll get you back in a second. We have a brand new sponsor here on Chat It Up Sports, Steel City brand and the perfect tee. My gosh, guys, these are wonderful. We got these new custom hats. I'm bringing this bad boy in. This thing is sweet. I'm actually not going to lie to you. From the picture, I was like, man, it looks pretty nice. It's going to be like a jean jacket, a little Canadian tuxedo, if you will. It is not, my friends. This thing is amazing. Walked around in this bad boy with my beautiful little girl today. So fantastic stuff. I'll tell you what, Steel City is all around the country. It ain't just there in Pittsburgh. If you want vintage sports tees to iconic Berg designs, I'll tell you what, these are the guys to get to. And check out the website at steelcitybrand.com. Type in promo code ChatItUp15 to get 15% off, and we'll take care of you. Great tees, I'm telling you, all around. Like, if you want the Steel City logos, perfect tees, or just simple all-around wears for the summer, I'm telling you, this is the best. Cool, off-kilter colors, the best. steelcitybrand.com, ChatItUp15 for 15% off. I don't know. NBA talk, I could do it for a while. Joseph.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us about how important these college football coaches are telling us that the single transfer portal that's in the works is going to be. Because your man Kirby Smart was the first quote by our boy Chris Vanini.
Yeah. Well, it's the one thing that I think coaches want is a sense of continuity. So, like, when you go into the postseason or the off season, as some would call it, in that January window where you're down to probably like 8 teams that are still playing, you as a head coach that maybe if you didn't make the playoffs, you just want to know who's going to be on your team. You just want to know who's leaving and who's staying. And if you establish one transfer portal window, then that means you can get all this done by the time spring and by winter workouts, have your team, move into spring, you know who your team is, move into fall camp, you still know who your team is, you're dealing with, injuries, players ascending, players declining, things like that. But you know who you have. Right now, with the current double transfer portal window, you have a guy for now, but you might not have him, and you let him go in 1 reps all the way through spring. You get out of spring, bam, he's gone. Okay, now you got to fill that position. Okay, we got fall camp. That's nice, but that's not the same as spring. And now you've missed those double reps at like 1 or 2 position, and you're having to throw a 3 in there. Having one transfer portal window allows coaches to just take a breath and be like, okay, we can do our seniors leaving, we can do our transfers going out, but then once this is over, we're on to spring ball, and it's only spring ball. Well, I say only spring ball. You're still recruiting.
Yeah.
You're still going to have to do that. But most of these coaches are accustomed to having high school recruiting, and they've got large staffs and people that can kind of help take a load off that. But you don't have to spend spring coaching and then also re-recruiting your own roster and then also trying to recruit other rosters for who could potentially be poached off your roster. You know who you have, and you know what you're going into the season with, instead of being like, well, so-and-so didn't have a great spring. Like, is he gonna dip? We were counting on him to be quality depth this year. But I mean, if he doesn't like that we've got him at the 2 slot at corner, he could dip, and then we're left with a walk-on or a freshman in that 3rd spot. So, like, do we have to worry about that now? No. If you get one single transfer portal window, that goes away. And I toyed with this idea in my head today about how long it should be and when it should start. So I know in the article they talked about it starting like in the 1st of January. That's okay. That would be better than where it is now, but you'd still have teams that are playing. And what popped into my head was Ohio State's backup quarterback, who ended up admitting that he was transferring, but he was still on the roster and still active for a playoff game. I want to avoid that. If this is up to me, I want to avoid that at all costs. I don't want players, like, I understand if you're playing at like Coastal Carolina, or if you're playing at like one of these Power 4 schools that doesn't make the playoffs, you kind of want to be able to get a jump on where you're going. But I don't like that a team's that's had a better season could potentially be punished because their players have to, number one, wait, and they have to wait to get players. So if it was up to me, this portal window would be somewhere between like 30, 40, 45 days, maybe. And I did the math in my head, or I did the math on paper here. Let me pull this up real quick. So theoretically, if it started the day after the national championship game, let's use this past season as our example.
Okay.
So the national championship game was on January 20th. So say the portal opens on January 21st. Well, if you have a 30-day window, that carries you to February 20th. And I know classes are starting, and I know that's one of the issues is that, like, well, we have to open it in December so people can get enrolled. Guys, these are athletes. They're playing football. Like, summer courses are a thing.
Yeah.
We can adapt.
Mm-hmm.
We can adapt. We can find a way around classes being the ultimate, we can't do it then. So if you do it 30 days, that's a little bit of a short turnaround, especially for some of these national championship deep playoff run teams. But you get players that get a chance to get established, get on their new team, and have a little bit of an adjustment period before spring ball. Most spring ball starts in mid-March, runs into April in the spring games. You kind of want to get players in before that so you can get them a little more acclimated. The second portal window that I came up with, and these are all just, these are just things that I came up with off the top of my head. This wasn't proposed, hasn't been talked about. But if you did 40 days, then the portal window would be from January 21st to March 2nd.
Woo.
Okay. That's just a little bit of time before spring, but you get a little bit of an extended time to make your decision on the portal, which something that we need to also take in mind when we create this portal window is that you don't have to be entered and out by the time it closes. You just have to be in there. So, like, if you have 30 days to enter your name into the portal, you don't have to find a school before that closes. You just can't enter once it's closed. That's why I opt for the shorter time, because odds are if you're going to transfer, you've probably been thinking about it for a little while.
Yeah, you kind of know.
Or you've probably been contacted by coaches from another school before this window opens. Yeah, there's probably some late game transfers. There's probably some like spur of the moment, like, hey, we lost a guy. We really need a guy. Like, we recruited you in high school. We'd love to see you come over. Like, there's probably situations like that exist. But if you extend it 40 days, you're really encroaching on that spring training, spring practice window. And then that last day, if you gave it 45 days, January 21st to March 7th, you'd really only have about like a week and a half if you entered at the end of the transfer portal before spring started.
Yeah.
So realistically, I don't think you can go anything longer than 45 days. So if you wanted to, I'd still think you should start after the national championship game. Like, once it's done, it's like, hey, the season is officially over. Everybody's free reign. You got 30 days. If you wanted to start it in January, like January 1st, I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. But again, my whole point of view on this is really trying to avoid players on playoff teams having to balance practice, being on a playoff team. You might play, we might need you, we might not, but also trying to do what's best for their situation. And specifically, Ohio State's backup quarterback is what pops into my head. So I thought a 30-day window would be the best option, and have it start either, if not after the national title game, have it start like after that last round of semifinals, where you know who the national title game is and everybody else is kind of established and you pretty much know who the teams are, because there's only a week between the semifinals and the national championship. So you kind of know on your team who's probably going to leave, who's probably not. You'll have some surprise factors because that's just how this works. But I think one portal window would really take a lot of stresses off coaches and not have to have them be like a coach and a GM, or have to be with the GM and be like, hey, this is who we're thinking about from this school and this school and this school, and this is who we're thinking about we're going to lose from this school and this school and this school, and you can just get back to football. And it allows you to, I don't want to take credit for the idea, because I don't know if you've heard Pate talk about like the perfect college football calendar. His is a lot more detailed and a lot more thought out, but it would allow you to take a step towards creating a year-round college football calendar, where it's like, hey, these months of the season,
which would probably need to happen.
Yeah, which the league, and I say the league, college football is not utilizing how year-round the sport could be with recruiting, with schedule release. Like the NFL schedule release, I know a lot of people are like, well, it's just the schedule release, but they make an event of it, and it's exciting.
It's huge.
Right.
Like,
it's huge.
You could do the same thing for SEC football. You could do the same thing for Big Ten football. Like, you could find out who you're playing in like April. You'll be fine, because most of these schools you've seen before.
Right.
And I mean, I know you have regime changes and coaches and things like that, but like, for the most part,
doesn't matter to us though.
Yeah, you've seen, like, you can prepare if you're a head coach. You can prepare. You don't need to know that you're playing a school 4 years from now. So like, if you have this transfer portal window that ends right after the season, it's like, okay, now you've got basically National Signing Day 2.0, because National Signing Day was in December, but then there's early National Signing Day, which is kind of taking the place of National Signing Day. So you've lost the luster of the real National Signing Day, because at most you'll have like maybe 3 or 4 high profile recruits that save their day and push it that late. But most people on early National Signing Day are getting where they're going to go. So you get the season end, you get this transfer portal window. Transfer portal window wins. You've got a couple of weeks. Boom, you're into spring ball. Spring ball, you do that whole thing. You get done with spring ball. You got a couple of weeks. Boom, you're into fall camp. Boom, you're into season. Like, you can do the schedule release between spring ball and fall camp. Then you've got fall camp. Then you're into the season. College football year round. And it would fit right in that little window perfectly.
And if you're going to hire GMs, you're going to hire basically teams to help you facilitate this. Why would you not?
Yeah.
Why would you not? Because I think the GM aspect and them creating teams, you're going to have assistant GMs, and you're going to have these guys like Trey Young's helping out with Oklahoma basketball, like things like that. That's going to become a bigger spectrum for football. So when you have that much help and you have people helping out with on-campus recruiting and all that stuff, even while the playoffs are going along, because I think the one that was proposed in the article on The Athletic, which big fan of The Athletic, if you can get it for $1.99, pretty great little deal. I don't know who said it, but it was just like January 2nd to the 12th would be the portal window.
Yeah.
And with that, it's all to get kids into classes. You just got out. Like, it's they'd like to get everything done. And you guys got to, I mean, especially you were playing basketball. So like they want to get you back. You want to be in there. Hopefully, the day after New Year's, get ready. Like if you have games, you're already there on campus. You can see the whole thing. You can be a part of the process. But for the most part, it's just to get kids enrolled. You don't have to worry about, dude, is this guy even going to make a class? Let's be honest. These athletes, they're not good at that going to class stuff. Yeah. So this is going to be an extracurricular activity for these coaches and GMs now. Yeah. If that were to expand out. So that was my only thought on that is like now with the new structure of, I guess, football administration, not athletic department. This is football's administration in all these bigger schools. You better have a GM you can trust, and you better have a team that you can trust now because, like you mentioned, if they're playing ball, you just can't worry about that. And I know like all those coaches were talking about, it was just so much stress. Like this transfer portal is going on, and we can't even like do anything about it. Like we really can't. Like we're preparing, and you're doing all this playoff stuff, and you got guys talking to you, donors talking to you, trying to get you on these flights. And it's just like little things now with NIL that we're going crazy. These new teams, the new administration coming in with the general managers, assistants, and like I'm sure they have player personnel guys now, like all these little things. That's going to be a massive help for this transition. But until then, it's going to be some growing pains, but this will help coaches out tremendously. Because even if they just know that we have to worry about this one only, you can get prep ahead. You can worry about that. You and your GM can get on the same page. Like, the little in between weeks during the playoffs, if you have a bye, like, let's say Oregon last year, it's like, hey man, we can start getting ready on this. Yep. So those points will matter because if it's just one, you're saving a lot of people a lot of freaking time because how many people I feel like hopped in, hopped out. I mean, it felt like, I know there are anomalies, but still like 10 people that might have mattered. You're like, well, this sucks. This guy was just in. Now he's back in the second one. Like, I don't know. I'm a little weary on some of these transitions. The two never made sense to me. And the spring one's just so hard to do. But if you did have the 30-day window, it would give a lot of grace. And like you mentioned, you can do summer classes. You can figure it out.
Yeah.
Like for somebody like Vandy, like as you're a fan of Drew, like I don't know how. I think that movement would help you guys also. Being a new fun team, I think you guys are going to be able to pull some people. I think that'll make people stick.
Yeah.
Like you're committed. Like if you saw Pavia running around against Alabama, it gets you going. You're like, man, I'm going to ride this train. Now you're in. Now you don't, you're not overthinking it. You don't have 17 different offers for crazy amounts of money. Like the GM aspect is going to be, hey, we're going to stick in here. This is what you're worth. This is what we can give you. That's going to be making it easier. So the Wild Wild West is kind of calming down, but don't you think for smaller programs like in the SEC and the ACC, it's going to help out a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just, let's not act like the class thing is a big deal. Like, let's not act like college football, college athletics in general won't, like, if need be, there'll be legislation or whatever they got to do within these schools to push like February start classes for this exact detail, or classes that in later, or it's like a modified, like, what do you need to just get through this? Like, let's not act like that's not going to happen. If a college football coach wants something to get done, it's probably going to get done, especially at these bigger programs. But you're right. I mean, these schools that, I think specifically to the UNLV quarterback situation earlier this season. He doesn't get paid. He doesn't get paid what he's worth, or whatever happens there. Who actually knows what happens? But then he jumps he jumps directly. He plays. They're 4-0, and then he jumps directly, into the transfer portal for the next season. I mean, like, let's not act like the NIL, like, this is going to help stabilize NIL. Like,
Yes.
it absolutely will. It will make people stand by their commitments more than than before, because before collective throws $200,000 at a kid. He's like, oh, I get $400,000 over here. Well, if he decides and the transfer portal window is now closed instead of just, there are no rules, well, then that $200,000 is now going to have to be good enough, and he's going to have to stick it out. And I think it will help, when people say NIL is killing college athletics. No, it's not. It definitely is hurting the product right now because there's no regulation, there's no standard. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. But if you get the transfer portal and you get NIL, both, they're obviously the court case, whatever, basically the NCAA gets out of paying, they kind of get out of paying what they should have. But anyway, all that suffice to say, if you can just get everything regulated, then the kids are going to start caring more again, because they're going to be stuck at these schools and they're not going to be, they're not going to be able to just do whatever they want, which I think is the ultimate problem right now. Is there's multiple chances to get out, and if you're a second stringer, you're sitting on a bench, or you're a third stringer, and then there's multiple chances to get out, you're going to take it because everybody wants to play, or everybody wants what they're worth, or whatever it is in today's modern college landscape.
Yeah. Okay, so I was thinking about this too earlier. Let's go back to the Nico situation. Does this help prevent that, or does it help you make, if you're a Nico in his camp, make a more hasty decision of, if he did actually put Tennessee in a bind and was like, hey, you got to pay us, we're not playing the playoff game. Does this help that or hurt that?
I think this helps prevent a situation like that, but not from the standpoint of it got to this point and now this is where we are. Because I think, to speak to Drew's point, what this is going to do with the NIL Go, because now it's anything over $600 can be audited. Any NIL deal over $600 can be audited, and you have to provide proof of action that they're doing something. So you can't just throw a bag at a kid. But if you lock down the transfer portal window, I think you're going to see a return of longer recruitments, where some kids are still going to want to commit, play their senior year. They know where they're going to go. They know where they've wanted to go. Like, they want to play for a certain head coach. I think you're going to see less of these players where they're like, hey, I got a bigger bag here. Like, if we play this situation 3 years in the future and it's Nico, would he have even ended up at Tennessee if these parameters had been set? Like, that's what I think we have to think about is, are players going to be as hasty to make their decision about where they're going to go? Because, like, now it's not going to be, well, Tennessee offered me $8 million. UCLA only offered me like $5 million. I know I live on the West Coast and I love the West Coast, but like, I'm going to go get my bag. Now it's like, okay, I'm getting similar money. So who do I want to go play for? Well, I'd like to play for my hometown. I'd like to play for somewhere close so my parents can come watch. I think I'm going to go to UCLA. I think if you end up in this similar situation 3 years down the road, where this one transfer portal window is established, a schedule's established, NIL Go is cemented, and people can be held accountable, you'll see players go to places that they actually want to be, and not where they're just getting stacks of cash. So I think in that scenario, it helps prevent situations like the Nico situation and like the UNLV situation. I totally forgot about that dude.
Yeah.
They just up and pieced out.
Solka?
Yeah,
Solka.
Something like that. Matthew Skolka.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't think you'll see situations like that.
Yeah.
Because I think kids, they'll be forced to take the situation. They'll be forced to take the recruitment more seriously, because it's like, hey, you can't just hit a big red button in October after you've collected about $1.5 million and dip. Like, you have to honor your commitment. You signed up to play football here. You committed to play football for this coach, for this program. You got to be here at least a year.
Yeah.
And you're not getting some big NIL bag. Yeah, you could get some big NIL bag if you make a name for yourself on the field. Like, pull a Jeremiah Smith, pull a Ryan Williams, show out your freshman year.
Yep.
Make Nike want to put you in an ad.
Yeah.
Make EA Sports College Football want to put you on the front. That's how you get your bag. Instead of being like,
here's $2 million.
Yeah, here's
Yeah.
$2 million. Come play football.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah, like I don't really know you guys. Like I don't really know anything about this state. I don't really know anything about the school. But like, it's $4 million. I'll see you there. I feel like we're gonna see a return to traditional recruitment, where it's like, hey, this coach really made an impact on me. I really feel like they can be the best shot for me to get to the league, accomplish what I want to accomplish, take care of my family. Scenarios like that.
Because I was wondering too, like, it also feels that NIL now, you're gonna have to work for it on your own instead of the collective just giving it to you.
Yep.
Handing it out.
So you're gonna get your paycheck, whatever that might be, and they're gonna distribute it probably on a regulatory basis. Again, I'm gonna give a lot of these GMs credit before it's even due yet. We're gonna see how that all works out, and they're gonna go through growing pains. But for the most part, these guys are professionals. There's what they're coming in for. They're going to create market value. So like these guys are going to get a nice paycheck from the college. Like especially if you were talking, I talk broadly amongst like Power Four, I guess is where you talk about a lot. Like when we're talking about this stuff, we're talking about Power Four schools and how this is going to go down. And they're going to get a nice check. If you're a quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, if you're a stud from any position, you're going to get a nice paycheck. But now you're not going to get this crazy money just thrown at you because you're going to have to go get it from Nike. You're going to have to go get it from EA. You're going to have to go get it. Like, don't you guys think it slows it down a little bit?
Yeah. And in the NIL Go stipulations, you actually have to go and do the work, and it has to be accounted for. It has to be like you have to prove that you showed up at Nike, did the ad, did what you promised to do, then got paid. Like you actually have to get paid for your services, not just your name. So it's like
it's putting responsibility back in college athletics. It's
Exactly.
not you show up, oh, I only had 2.5 sacks. I was supposed to have 10.5, and now you're running from that situation because the collectives they're probably upset. Like they got big money. The reason that they're giving you the money is so that you beat the other people with big money. Like you're no longer to them. You're just an asset. You're not. It's not like. Goodness, like it's not like, oh, it's Manti Te'o. We all love him. Like he came. We were at every one of his high school games in Hawaii, or So I'm not sure if that happened, but that's an example. And then you feel bad for him. The story happens and all that. But now it's just like you're Malachi Moore. Here's $2 million. Like we don't care what you do as long as you put on the Crimson Tide jersey and produce these stats. And then now it's well, Raising Cane's is paying me, $500,000 for production. And if I don't have that, then that money isn't going to be there next year. And there's nowhere else that I can get it because I've got to keep getting these deals myself.
It's the Quinshon Judkins case.
Yeah.
Like you won't, where you see Lane Kiffin out in the rain watching this kid who's kind of under recruited, ends up balling out, and Ohio State's like, hey man, why don't you come play for us? Here's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like you won't see that.
Yeah. You won't have the same opportunity. You'll be with another, 5-star back. Right. But it's heck, I don't even know what he got paid. I'm not familiar.
I don't remember the NIL deal, but like it's more about the scenario. Like Quinshon would be able to make, like he would still be able to transfer to Ohio State. Yeah. But he's not transferring to Ohio State for the pay raise and to play. Like he could transfer to Ohio State because he wants to play for a better team, but then his bag that he's going to make is because of what he did on the field at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Like it's like, hey, Nike wants to put you in, Powerade wants to put you in. Like, hey, we're, Ohio State, we've got some donors, some like big wigs that own companies that want you in ads, things like that. Yeah. Instead of just like, hey, we're just going to NIL, just come play for us.
Yeah. And then go to Maryland next season. Sorry, that's not a shot at Maryland. It's just the first.
It's just true.
Mid Power 4 that popped in my head.
I think too, like the getting audited part is going to be very interesting because I think another reason that this all came about is because they're like, oh yeah, the collectives, we're going to make sure they go to these events. They're going to be scheduled to go to this ice cream social and these donor relation meetings and all this stuff. And I guarantee you 90% of that stuff didn't happen for whatever players. I'm sure the big guys had to show up. Like if you're Judkins and if you're like a transfer guy, we paid a lot of money for, you better show up to this dinner or whatever we're doing. Like, but I guarantee he didn't have to make all the ice cream socials. He didn't have to go to the, the root beer float meeting at the local Steak and Shake. Like all that stuff just went away. Like, maybe he popped in for 5 minutes, but you were supposed to be there an hour and a half. Like some of those guys are going to be great about it. Like, hey, I'm getting an opportunity, but a lot of people won't. Because also you're a college kid, you just don't know yet. Like that's fine. That's just life. That's totally understandable. But now with the audits, it sounds like you're going to be like, if you're told by Nike, like this is your contract, you got to make sure you're doing 4 ads, you got to make 5 social posts a month. Like they're going to find that. Yeah. They're going to make sure this happens now.
And it's independent too. It's not, if you're,
it's not in-house audited.
Yeah, you're not five-star quarterback at UCLA. UCLA's accounting department is not doing it. It's a true third. We'll see. It's a true third party. Yeah, it's supposed to be.
Is that Deloitte?
It's Deloitte. Yeah,
it's
Deloitte
right?
And the NIL go. Yeah. And it's not like
because I saw they've been pumping out some ads these last couple of days. The soap and dog.
And like I say that, and I just want to be clear. It's not like when I bring up Quinshon Judkins, it's not a shot at Judkins.
No,
it's like it's just
a good example.
It's just the system you're in. Like
you are,
dude, fully. And I'm not going to sit here and say like, hey, if I was a star running back, go play for a better team and make more money.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. Let me turn that down. So it's not a shot at Judkins, but like it does feel like it's okay, we wrote this chapter. This was chaotic. Let's move on to the controlled version of this where we won't have scenarios like this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And getting control of this will be amazing. I think that's the thing is like we had to go through the lumps. A big part for me is like life lessons get to be learned very fast in the last couple of years. Like this wild, wild west, crazy scenarios, all this crap going on. They got to learn fast and they've what seems like done a good job of trying to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I'm happy to see because the tradition part of it, like, your game days are getting amazing. Like all this stuff's happening for them to finally make this product as great as we've always thought about it. Like it's obviously going north, it's getting out west. Like, dude, college game days are just the best time of the year. Like they're just amazing. Yeah. And so it's like for it to spread from Knoxville now to Berkeley, like you saw that, like those kind of things are just happening, especially like how much clout they're getting. And I think the whole college football is the closest thing to EPL or any European soccer league now. That part is spread, like that little quote I hear everywhere now instead of just like Tennessee and Kentucky and Florida. Like that's everywhere now. So it's like, all right. College football is becoming by far the biggest sport. Outside the NFL, let's be honest.
Yeah.
There's a reason there's billions in front of that one. So yeah, it's one of those things that this sport can become great. We've not handled it perfectly first couple of years because you just added so much money that it's like disgusting to think about. Yeah. And it scared people off in a lot of ways. It's like, dude, is this not even fun anymore? Because college is hard enough just to keep up with dudes every 4 years, and us weirdos that love it so much. Mm-hmm. Like we can tell you, last year I was like, I know he played it. I didn't. You're watching that whatever game. You're like, I'm pretty sure he played for somebody else last year, and that guy played for somebody else. It's the worst in college basketball. But now college football is like, we got to get this stuff under control. We got to get this maxed out here because these guys are a huge part of us. We can't have all these teams changing and we can't have mercenaries every single year if you're Ohio State. Man, it worked one year, but what's it look like next year? So that's one thing I think like the lessons were learned fast in the hardest ways, but I think we're getting to a good spot.
I think we'll see. Yeah. I think we'll see a return to what college football was. But it's not necessarily about like the sport evolving into something different. I think it's just like things are going to go back to how it used to be.
How it used to be, but like in a better sense.
Yeah. Well, it's like,
and everybody gets paid.
Yeah.
That's all we've ever wanted.
Kids can be adequately compensated for what they are bringing into the school is really like where we're getting to a point where it's like, okay, we had a part where the sport was amazing. Like the early 2000s, the late 2000s, the 2010s, like it was awesome. But we can all agree kids were getting taken advantage of because they weren't seeing a piece of the pie. Okay. Well, instead of methodically thinking through that and thinking, okay, how can we adequately compensate these players for what they're bringing in for us, for what they're doing for us? They're like, you know what? Let's just not do anything. And that's how we got here. So it feels like a return to normalcy. And it feels like a return to what the sport should have been, or what parts of the sport made the sport great, and then what should have been in terms of like, yeah, these kids probably should have been able to support their families and support themselves at least. Not, yeah, you get a free education and you're getting like $100 stipend for pizza or something, but it's like, dude, come on. Now you are adequately compensated for what you're doing.
I had a really good friend of mine in college that I'm sure you guys had these friends that loved the recruiting and all that side of college football, the video game. Yeah. Let's be honest. I knew it was you, Jess. I wasn't going to say anything, but I was like, you love that so much. This was like a dream. He was like, could you imagine? I remember him saying, like, could you imagine if we had like compensation, we could make contracts for these guys? So it does feel like one of those dream scenarios where it's like all this stuff just like never made sense. A thing that has happened here in the last 5 or 6 years too is, remember when you're like, I wish they made a show out of this movie. The Mandalorian comes to mind. And they're like, that'll never happen. And then we did it. And then Disney Plus was like, we got you, dog. like those kind of things can happen. Like literally there's so much money in this world that we can make those things happen. And once you get it organized, it's pretty freaking sweet. So that's one of those things I was like, wow, we are at the stage where all those kids in 2013 that dreamed about adding contracts to their recruiting because they loved it and they skipped over games like psychos, those friends are happy now. And I love that for my boys, because he's going to hop back on, 3 kids, working a job, and it's like, I'm going to go sign some contracts.
I just landed this 5-star out of Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jess is going to send me a text, be like, I got him. 2031, got that 5-star quarterback.
This program is taken care of for the next 3.5 years.
Yeah. 3 years, $12 million. We got him. So I'm happy for you guys out there playing NCAA football. Where are we at time-wise?
50 minutes.
50 minutes. All right, let's finish it out. You had a question for us.
Yeah, so boys, it's June. But it's never too early to talk about pressure. Okay? And pressure is a privilege, but sometimes it can be a little heavy. So I wanted to talk to you guys about coaches that I thought may not necessarily be on the hot seat. Some of them probably are, but are just feeling a lot of pressure going into this season. We'll call it playoffs or punishment, because it's not going to be a fun time if you don't make the playoffs.
Like that. Nice.
And I gave it some thought on several different coaches, because there are several coaches going into this year that I feel like may not necessarily have to make the playoffs. There are a couple that definitely have to make the playoffs, but there are a couple that you should just kind of get your act together. Well, I picked one that definitely has to make the playoffs, and it's none other than former Notre Dame head coach, current LSU head coach, Brian Kelly.
Nice.
Okay. And some might call that the low-hanging fruit of the season. And I won't argue with you. But here's the thing. You are the head coach at LSU. Okay? What does that mean? That means you have a fertile recruiting bed in Louisiana. You can reach into Texas. You can reach into Alabama. You can reach into Mississippi. You can pull kids from Georgia. What more do you need than those 5 states right there? Yeah, you might even steal a kid from California if you need a quarterback. You are Louisiana State University. It should recruit itself. They have talent. It is also one of 2 schools actively that the last 3 head coaches that have been hired have won a national title. Do you happen to know the other off the top of your head? It's Ohio State.
I was going to say Ohio
Jim
State.
Tressel, Urban Meyer, Ryan Day.
Yeah.
2 schools have had their last 3 head coaches win national championships. Brian Kelly is at one of them.
I know it's crazy. I almost forgot about Jim Tressel.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's a name kind of slips the mind there for a little bit because the Urban Meyer hire was so like he retired and then he went back. Anyways, I'm getting off topic here. So Brian Kelly in his first 3 seasons at LSU is 29-11. Not bad, right? Not bad. If you're Ole Miss,
could be worse.
not bad if you're Ole Miss. 29-11.
Arkansas.
You won 1 SEC title. Yeah, you beat Nick Saban. Congratulations. Jimbo Fisher did that. And now he's on a beach somewhere getting paid fat stacks to not coach.
Stacks, dog.
Stacks. Let me give you some stats about some coaches that have coached at LSU. Nick Saban was there for 4 years. I know, it's the GOAT. He's Nick Saban. He went 48-16 in 4 years. Won a national title in his first 3 years. Okay? Les Miles, the Mad Hatter, some would call him, 34-6 in his first 3 seasons. Won the 2007 national title at LSU. I know how that ended. He ended up ultimately being fired.
I didn't realize he had that good of a first 3 years.
Oh, yeah. They balled out Les Miles' first 3 seasons. Now, some will say, oh, he was just using Saban's recruiting classes. Okay.
Still got a coach.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Still got a natty. Still got a crystal ball. You know who took his place when Les Miles got fired?
Oh, gosh.
Go Tigers. Ed Orgeron went. He started in 2016 when Les Miles got fired. Okay, he went 6-2. We'll take that season out. His first 3 full seasons as head coach, 34-7, and assembled probably the greatest college football team that has ever existed.
Mm-hmm.
I know you can say, well, he caught lightning in a bottle. Well, nobody else has done it.
Yeah,
nobody else has caught lightning in a bottle with a team like that. Ed Orgeron somehow managed to speak Cajun for an entire season and pump out that team. Okay, that ended how it ended with the scandal, him ignoring a sexual harassment claim, whatever. That Ed was gone. Okay, you bring in Brian Kelly. You bring in somebody who's been at Notre Dame. He's established. He played in he coached in a national title championship game. Yeah, they got absolutely mauled by Alabama, but they got there. They got there one time. And, he talks about wanting to be with the big dogs, be one of the best coaches. In most lists, he's a top 10 head coach if you rank him wise. Yeah. And he talked about the limitations that Notre Dame has. It's strict academics and you can't recruit the same way. All right, go to LSU. Okay. How's that worked out for you? Well, in 2022, and I'll take it, he was hired in December of 2021. So you got less time. They finished with the 12th ranked class. Not bad. Not bad. If you're Ole Miss, not bad. 4th in the SEC. 2023, strong year, man. 5th in recruiting rankings. These are all according to 247. 3rd in the SEC. 2024, a little tick down. You dropped to 7th. Okay. But that's still a top 10 class. 2025, I know you're sitting at 10th, dog?
Yeah.
10th? And I will give it, you signed the number 1 transfer class. That's something. We've seen Lane Kiffin have success doing that. You got Barryon Brown. You got Nick Anderson from Oklahoma. Garrett Nussmeier's coming back in 2025. Top 3 quarterback in the SEC. I know, Lenora Sellers is great. And Arch Manning looks like he's going to be great, but I'm not ranking him over Garrett until we actually see Arch play for a full season.
Nope.
Call that what it is. Say what you want about it.
Garrett's supposedly the number 1 quarterback off the board right now.
Potentially. I mean, I know it's June, so a lot of football left. But I've just got to see it, man. I've got to see it from Brian Kelly. Like, if you don't do it this year with the number 1 portal class, one of the best returning, not even just the best, one of the only schools in the SEC returning a starter. Most of these big-time SEC competitors are starting a new quarterback. Yep. I know Arch played a little bit,
not
but
the same.
Georgia's starting a new quarterback. Texas starting a new quarterback. Lenora Sellers is back for South Carolina, but what's the rest of that roster look like?
Yeah, also as a freshman.
Yeah, I mean, we're legitimate competitors for the SEC title. Alabama starting a new quarterback.
Tennessee
starting a new quarterback. Auburn starting a new quarterback. You are one of the only ones that's bringing one back. If you don't at least make the SEC championship game this year, where do you go? You've got one of the best situations set up for you with how LSU is projected to be this year. And I think they're going to be good. This is not me saying that they're going to suck, but they should, at bare minimum, make the playoffs this year. And if they don't, and you're an LSU fan, I'm livid.
Yeah.
Because how much better can the situation get? How much better can the situation get for Brian Kelly? You also just lost the number one quarterback to Michigan. I know that is a product of the system we are in, and Michigan can throw a $12 million bag at Bryce Underwood. I'll give you a little bit of grace for that. I understand that is what it is. But who's behind Garrett Nussmeier now? Like, if you don't win this year,
have to get creative.
Is it going to get much like? And the recruiting doesn't seem like it's taking an uptick. So it's like it'd be different if you were like, okay, we're building to this, but we're rolling in loaded class after loaded class after loaded class at LSU, which should be easy enough to do. Yeah, you don't have to have the number one recruiting class every year. I get that. You're competing with Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. Like, you compete with Texas, but you should be seldom out of the top 5. You shouldn't be out of the top 4 in the SEC.
Ever.
Ever. Never. You should never be outside of the top 4. Like, you should have years where you out-recruit Bama, Texas, or Georgia. Maybe not all 3 of them in the same year,
right?
But at least one of them.
Be up there.
At least one of them.
Yeah,
and I know Texas has this infinite bag of money, but like, come on, man.
It doesn't always work. We've seen that.
No, it doesn't. And especially with us being more regulated with how money's going to go now, I just got to see it from Brian Kelly, man. I think this is a crucial year for him. I'm not saying that if they lose or don't win the national title, that he's going to get fired. I don't think he should be fired if they don't win the national title, because winning a national title is really hard. But if you don't make the playoffs, man, if you don't at least on the doorstep of the SEC title game and like, well, we didn't make the SEC title game, but we're a lock for the playoffs. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Where are we going?
Yeah, I think, man, I'll say there are some college football coaches that I really don't like as far as on the field. And Brian Kelly he's up there. He's definitely not the worst on the field coach. Like, he makes me mad with some of his decisions. But again, I'm on the couch and he's out there making millions of dollars doing what he's doing, and has had
success in some.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Has been a very, very competent college football coach. Don't hear me say that he's a bad coach. But the number one thing that I don't like about Brian Kelly, and have never liked across his, I don't know how long, probably since I've been born, thought I've existed, whatever you want to say, is he doesn't make his players take full responsibility, and he never has. And it has always and it was never more obvious this year. And I really hate to bring this up because of current events or just past events. When he didn't make Kyron Lacey take responsibility for that showing that he put up in the USC game, rest in peace. Absolutely, I get it. Yeah, absolutely. And not trying to harp specifically on that situation at all, but it's a theme with Brian Kelly that the players don't have to take responsibility, and neither does he. He doesn't have to take responsibility.
He blows that off fast.
Yeah, it's not my fault. It's my recruiting class's fault. It's not, it's not my fault. It's our collective's fault. It's not my fault. It's, the conditions that we were handed tonight. Like, both teams weren't playing the same conditions. And that's just, it's not all the time, but it's enough to where every time I watch a press conference of his, I kind of go, oh, man, I don't think you get it. And not to say that he's not a good coach, because I think he is, but I don't think that you have what it takes to get from, here where 9-3 is to here where the Natty is.
Yeah. And he's another one too, where that's a good point you mentioned, because he has to really think about taking ownership, because that's not his first nature. It's not his first thought process. That's not true leadership. I got to think about leadership because I read this in a Jocko Willink book. I got to go back to leadership and all that stuff. So he has to think about it. So that's a good point, because I have gotten frustrated at that time. I was like, golly, bomb, dude, you gave up 47 points tonight.
Yeah,
again, because that defense that first year was really bad. And you got bailed out because you had one of the greatest college quarterbacks ever.
You had Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah.
And awesome. Malik Neighbors. Yeah. And it's
and Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, all the two best
rookies. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get quite, which is crazy to think about how good they were this year. I don't know if we're going to get Jetta and Jamar, but it's not like that far off.
Yeah.
Dude,
no,
I mean,
it's not at all.
Within a 4-year span, you went from Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase to Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr. And yeah, the first one got you a natty. I get it. But like the second one, you wasted probably the second best offense, one of the best offenses in college football ever.
Yeah.
And is that what it's going to be? That's my big question. Is that what it's going to be with Brian Kelly? It's like, well, it was the defense this year. Well, you went and hired Blake Baker, who was really good at Baylor. Like, they look like they're going to be better this year, but you haven't turned Harold Perkins into what he was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of been lackluster. And he's an absolute freak,
and he's a guy that needs that true leadership to take ownership. He's the kind of guy that needs that.
Like the thing that pops into my head when I think about it is that like last year post USC game when he like slammed his hand on the table and he's like, and we're here again, and it's like you kind of look like you're throwing a tantrum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, and now you've got the third big opening game in a row. Like you lost to Florida State. I get it. That was a really good Florida State team. You lost to USC. That was not a great USC team.
No,
I'll be honest. By the end of the year, that was not a good. And I know it's different, after you've played a few games, but like you're LSU, man, you should beat a recovering USC. I know it's Lincoln Riley, and I know they're good. I know Lincoln Riley knows how to coach offense, but like you're LSU, you should win this game. Yeah. You should beat a recovering USC program that's having to more or less build from the ground up. And then now you start the year with Clemson, who's coming off a hot year, won the ACC when no one thought they were going to, played a really good game against Texas. Cade Klubnik's back. Those freshman wide receivers have had another year in the system. Like, you're going to come out. You cannot lose this game. You cannot. LSU, the state of Louisiana, will riot. We've seen what they do to Jello shots, man. They will riot if you come out for the third year in a row, fall on your face, and lose to Clemson. Clemson can afford to lose that game. Clemson can totally afford to lose that game because they can just sweep the ACC, win. They're fine. Dabo, it's fine. LSU, that first game is do or die. First game. Because it's not going to get any easier because you got to play Alabama.
Yeah.
That game's coming down the pipe.
Yeah, that's because you're at Ole Miss, South Carolina, at Vandy versus A&M, at Bama versus Arkansas. Like, that's a heck of a run, dude.
Yeah, and South Carolina, you should have lost South Carolina last year.
Should have lost last year.
Yeah,
hopefully definitely. It's a better team.
And that game, man.
I know.
I remember I had that up on my phone. I don't know what we were doing. We were doing some event.
Yeah.
I had that up on my phone, and man, they had 15 chances to put that one away. It feels like, and I remember thinking like I think they got in scoring position twice in the fourth quarter, and they came away empty both times before they eventually sealed it. And I remember thinking, I mean, that the fact that you don't walk away with field goals there, at least a field goal you get it is just, it's just signs that maybe you don't exactly have what it takes. And I agree with you that Nussmeier should be the first off the board or whatever. What could be, whatever's left. More than likely, there'll be a guy that rises up.
We're not going to see somebody coming.
Yeah,
unless Arch just absolutely, unless Arch just eats this year, which he very well could. Again, there's so much up in the air with Arch Manning. Like, you can sit here all day and you can watch analyst after analyst say, "Oh yeah, dude, he's going to be the guy," but like, you really don't know until he's in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
in Athens, down 7. Or up 3, and you got to get a first down to win. Like, that's when you'll find out about Arch.
Yep.
And he very well could be. And by no means am I trying to doubt him. By no means am I trying to say he's not what he's hyped up to be. He could be. We just 100%. Don't know. We just don't know.
Yeah.
So, Garrett, for all intents and purposes, could be the best quarterback in the SEC this year. Could be. No guarantee.
And should be at least top 3.
At minimum, should be top 3. Because I'll give you, like, if Arch pans out, okay, Lenore Sellers is better.
Yeah.
He is. Like, Lenore Sellers is just fun to watch. Dude's just a stud.
He may not even be a quarterback.
He's a do-it-all for South Carolina. Like, and I'm really, not to get on a South Carolina tangent, but, like, I really hope Nicholas Harbor takes the next step because that dude's just a genetic freak.
Oh,
and he is just an athlete, dude. So, like,
they have, we're going to get into South Carolina. We're going to talk some teams here in the next couple weeks, but SEC Media Day coming up too. Drew, who'd you have, bro?
Man, I have. I went back and forth. I went through a lot of guys. I was trying to stick on the SEC because honestly, it's what I know.
Yeah.
I watch any college football game, but as far as getting into it, the SEC is what I follow. It's what I keep up with. So that's what I chose to go with. And we're going to take a trip down to Auburn, Alabama for Mr. Hugh Freeze.
Oh,
Man, and this is one that I went back and forth on because at times I was on Eli Drinkwitz and I was looking over Sam Pittman and I was like, yeah, I don't really care. I mean, and
No.
I think that's the problem with Hugh Freeze. People care about Auburn year in and year out. People care about Auburn, and it's the attitude over the last 2 years. My mom is an Auburn fan, and her whole family's Alabama. It's house
so this
divided.
is close to home.
Yeah. But why isn't Auburn at least relevant? Like, why are they only on the TV screen that one game a year in the Iron Bowl? Like, why is that the only screen time they get?
They're getting shoveled down to the noon game a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh, yeah. And I talked to, before you got here, I talked with Joseph. I was like, the game that I watched Vanderbilt and Auburn play at, I think it was like the 1 o'clock SEC Network game, was the saddest game I'd ever watched at Jordan Hare. And it was sad for me as a Vanderbilt fan, but it was even more sad for all the people sitting there watching Auburn put up 9 points at home versus Vanderbilt. Second time losing to Diego Pavia. So I did a little bit of research because I was curious. I'm like, okay, well, maybe Hugh Freeze is just getting a rough shake. Maybe the expectations are weighing on him. So I went back to the Gus Malzahn era, which maybe could be more favorably remembered than it actually was. Like Cam
It definitely is. Yeah.
Cam Newton there, like you kind of get bailed out a lot of things, but Gus Malzahn's, his first year with the Auburn Tigers, 12-2, came in, turned him from 3-9 to 12-2 like that. So there's one thing that Gus Malzahn has over Hugh Freeze. His next season is loading. His next season, 8-5, and then you go on down the list, 9-4. You see another 12-win season, but I mean that's the standard, right? You should at least be getting to 8-4 with this Auburn team every year. Now I get it. You're in the same state as Alabama. You're in a heavily, what's the word?
Contested recruiting area.
Yeah, it's contested. You're in the SEC, but the standard is that they're giving you the money, and you're a good recruiter. You have the 6th ranked class this year.
Yeah,
that's according to 247 as well. Like you should be at least making people nervous, when they have to play you. When honestly, the only people that are nervous when they have to play Auburn over the last few years are their non-conference opponents, and really. Not even that.
Scary.
New Mexico State.
God.
So they bring in Jackson Arnold this year. My biggest complaint with Hugh Freeze is when is he going to get that it really just matters who you have under center. I'm interested to see Jackson Arnold. I think Jackson Arnold probably had the worst setup in all of Power 4 college football last year. To beat Alabama, pull 6-6 out of that. Maybe a little bit more underrated. That may get talked about as the year goes on a little bit more, just because like their receivers couldn't do anything. Like Oklahoma's receivers were that bad.
Oh,
and
it was sad.
Now Jackson Arnold is going to walk into a school with a good transfer class, a good recruiting class, mind you. And I'm interested to see what happens. Again, Hugh Freeze can go 6-6 this year. They're not going to fire him. I hate to say it, but
expectations are way too low.
Well, yeah, exactly. The goalposts have moved pretty much. And for me, Hugh Freeze needs to have, I think a 9-win season works just fine. And I think that's at least a step in where you want to go before. And this is where I think they're teetering on that they never got to during the Malzahn era, which is really weird to say. Believe me, I'm nobody's, I'm nobody's number one Gus Malzahn supporter. Nobody ever claimed me that, but they're teetering on irrelevancy. And I think that's where they have to they need to get off the ledge. They need to get back up from the cliff, get on solid ground, and at least say, okay, we beat 4 SEC teams this year instead of we just beat our non-conference and then we squeaked out. We had fun in the Iron Bowl, messing with Bama a little bit, messing with their playoff hopes or whatever it may be. But we lost to Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Tennessee. We got beat by Kentucky this year. Like that's where I think the irrelevancy is getting close. And now their previous head coaching situation didn't do a lot to help that. Hugh Freeze did walk into kind of a mess, especially especially through COVID. I
Yeah.
think Auburn was hit harder than most schools.
Brian got just
Brian Harsin
roasted.
was
just a bad hire.
It was a bad hire.
Yeah, like you just call it what it is. A guy
I did
that's
forget Cadillac Williams was
went
2-2.
yeah,
Like
4 games of electricity.
there were some Auburn fans in his corner.
There was a
little
lot.
bit. But I mean, he's an alum. He played there. Like,
Got the juice.
you get why there's going to be. That'd be like if Eric Berry interim coached and won like 3 or 4 games. If God forbid Josh Heupel left. Or I'm just throwing out an example. I'm just
that's one of those things. If Eric Berry went 2-2 with like a pretty bad team, I would give like half my paycheck to make sure that it's like one of those things. Like I loved him so much.
Yeah.
It's like the Jeff Saturday Colts run.
Oh yeah.
I think they won 1 game during that run, but
the first game.
Yeah, the first game, and they lost every other one, and he totally mismanaged everything.
Oh, he's terrible.
But everybody was so happy to see Jeff Saturday standing coaching.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Now, did they probably make the right call for where college football was going? I think they did.
Yeah.
And I think you had to go grab a guy like Freeze. And my point would be that I don't know where they go from here. Like if you move on from Freeze, you better have somebody lined up because at the end of the day, he's a big name and he's going to draw in funds. He's going to draw in recruits. But man, that team that they ran on in the field last year is one of the at least exciting, like least hopeful teams I've ever seen Auburn run out on the field.
I think that's another part of it is the Harsin years were so bad. The Bo Nix years were so bad. It was so boring. And then it makes it even worse that Bo goes to become what he is now.
And what he did at Oregon.
Exactly.
Not even just that.
It was
but like
humongous. What he did at Oregon, you're like, oh man. And we talked about it, I think, a couple of months ago. Like, remember whenever Bo was actually kind of good? It was kind of like whenever he was doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
Man, they really mismanaged this guy. So now it's like, they're fading because they're boring and they're mediocre. Like, it's one thing to be terrible and you're like, you just kind of laugh it off. But if you're 6-7, 5-7, 5-7, 6-7, 6-5, like those are your runs. It's like, dude,
like who cares? At a certain
and you're
point,
super boring.
Yeah.
Lowest scoring team, I think, in the SEC, probably in that run.
You got Peyton Thorne at QB. His backup is, some blonde kid you never heard of. I mean, I think he threw 4 picks in a game last year.
Probably.
And who is going to invest the time into hating on Auburn if they're just 6-6? They do what they're supposed to in the non-conference. They sneak out a Kentucky or a Vanderbilt or an Arkansas, but and then you turn them on, around Thanksgiving, they put up 14 miracle points versus Alabama. They give them a scare, or they take them to OT or right down to the wire, but then that's all they're good for. And if that's all they're good for, then people are going to stop caring, less about that, and then it's going to move on. I mean, people are
supposed to be their home run.
People are going to move on. The Auburn faithful, they're not going to move on, but it's really hard to get people to care about 2 teams in one state. And, when one of those 2 teams is they're just blah. Like it's not like they're doing something wrong. There's scandals everywhere. They're just gray.
Super gray.
But it's not even just the fact that you're gray. It's that the other team in the state has operated at the pinnacle of the sport since 2007.
The greatest of all.
They have been the team in college football. And you've had some good years, like the Cam Newton years. The Gus Malzahn era, it lives on because of Cam Newton national title, and then because of 2 moments. The miracle of Jordan Hare and the kick six, which just happened to happen 3 weeks apart from each other. So don't even get me started on the voodoo that lives on that field when Georgia and Alabama play at Auburn.
Incredible.
Like, it's just, you don't know. Doesn't matter how good you are. Doesn't matter how good they are. It's going to suck for you if you're an opposing fan. If you're an opposing Georgia fan or Alabama fan, watching your team go into Jordan Hare and play them. But,
sucks.
I mean, I'm with you. Freeze was supposed to be the kind of like, hey, we'll bring our guy in, take advantage of this NIL portal window area, and we'll get a real quick turnaround. And it hasn't been that. Like, you've seen semblances. You've seen moments where it's like, okay, we're starting to see something put together. And then Peyton Thorne throws 3 interceptions and you lose to Oklahoma. Like, and it's just frustrating because you feel like if you're an Auburn fan, you've got to be beating your head against the concrete wall. But you've got at least some positives heading into the season. I know Jackson Arnold, we talked about his situation. It was awful. Drew, you hit the nail on the head there. It was horrible what he had to deal with at Oklahoma last year. Now you've got Eric Singleton Jr. and you've got Cam Coleman.
Yep.
And man, if Cam Coleman just had a better quarterback, he would be in that conversation with Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith as like one of the best receivers in the league, like in the nation, actually, because he's a stud. He's a dude. He had some injuries, but like if he can stay healthy, if Eric Singleton can stay healthy, and if they can protect Jackson Arnold, Auburn can at least put up points. And man, I would rather, if I'm a fan, I would rather watch my team be exciting and go down swinging in like a 42-47 loss than the product that they were marching out on offense last year, where it's like, well, is Peyton going to throw 4 interceptions? Yeah. We're going to put up 13 points and lose to Missouri. Like, is that what we're marching out this year?
Yeah. So, it was, when I say gray, they had to beat teams with defense with a bad defense, which is like the worst combination of all time, where you're like, I think it was the California game where they were, where Thorne did throw 4 interceptions. And it was, when they say something's must-watch TV, you watch the Alabama-Georgia game last year. That is the example of something that should be burned off television. That should not be like those. Hopefully, those highlights are not on YouTube because I cannot express to you, like, I'm not an Auburn fan, and I don't proclaim to like Auburn, but I can't tell you how mad that game made me as just a person. And not even just, it was awful.
That right there, dude, that is what makes college football so great. Because it's like, if you're just a pure football fan, the NFL, better product all day. On the field, it's professional. Like, it's a better product. But man, you can't tell me, like, the same sport gave us Cal and Auburn and it gave us Georgia and Alabama, like the same sport within like the same
week,
20-day period. Like that happened.
Yeah.
And that is what makes me love college football so much, because you just have this absolute dumpster fire for 60 minutes. And then you have just this like instant classic, gonna be on ESPN gridiron for the next 30 years, and they're gonna bury Auburn and Cal in the archives, dude. Some kid's gonna pull that out. Auburn Cal 2024. What's this? We don't
anymore about it.
We don't talk about that.
Don't talk about it.
That game that never happened. I mean, that goes down there.
Gonna see a line through like a little marking on there on somebody on ESPN took paint and just like did this.
And it's like, how funny is it that it's Auburn that was also in the like 3-2 Mississippi State game?
Yeah.
I
forgot about that.
No, I won't let that game die. I will not let the 3-2.
In 1899, I told you guys I was watching the SEC history, the documentary. In 1899, Heisman lost a close one to the Sewanee Tigers, 11-9 in the SEC championship game.
That's got to be like was it Scoreology that they do every year for the NFL?
Oh, yeah.
The Scoreology where it's unique scores or whatever.
Yeah.
That's got to be in there.
That's got to be up there. You go back and listen to the 1899 Sewanee Tigers, brother. Those are some odd scores. They played 5 games in 6 days.
Oh, my God.
Road trip back. Texas paid them $700 bones to come play them. And they were like
$700.
$700, and that was a war chest back then.
It's like what, like seven? That's like getting paid $700K now.
Yeah, yeah. And then so they were like, "Well, we can't. That's going to break our bank trying to take a train out there. So we have to schedule games on the way back." On that run, 5 games, 6 days, they ended with a score of 91-0.
Oh my
Sewanee
Lord.
Tigers, 1899 season may be the greatest resume of all time.
Wow. And now
took North Carolina in the championship game, battled it out. 5-play goal line stand to win it.
5?
Yeah. Boys, I mean, I'm telling you, I was electric because I went to a wedding like 2 weeks ago at Sewanee. I'm like, bring him to the SEC now, baby.
Oh my God.
Look at those cathedrals on game day. We got Auburn's going up to Sewanee.
Oh, I need that in my life.
Yeah.
I need that in my life.
So anyways, that was a little history for you.
Yeah.
If anybody gets a chance, 1899 Sewanee Tigers, lit, baby, lit. Defensive monsters. Saban couldn't dream of it. Dream of it. All right, last one.
Yeah, we talked about Oklahoma briefly. I think you're
Yeah.
You're kind of aligning with
Yeah.
Oklahoma
There's
royalty.
a little foreshadowing there.
A little foreshadowing. The QB guru himself, supposedly, Lincoln Riley. And I think it's a little bit under the same circumstances as all of our coaches here. And why I say that is, boy, does the number one recruiting class buy you at least another year.
Maybe 2.
Maybe 2. But here's my opinion. I think Urban Meyer actually changed this game a lot more. Donors and facilitators and media matter a lot more nowadays. And there's 2 things going on. And Urban Meyer dropping imagine going 8-5 at Ohio State. That line on a very popular show changes a lot of perception. And I legit believe that might have changed a lot of people's minds, especially the rumblings of Notre Dame may not be on their schedule in the future. Whoever that major donor was that took them off their wheel if they do cancel the Notre Dame game. Like little things like that. And what you turned out to be last year was heartbreaking. And buddy, was I riding that train?
You were
I was
so
spot on
high
for
on
3
USD,
games.
and like I was like, man, what is Chase? What insider knowledge? Who you got at Vegas
Yeah.
is teaching you these things? Like what,
Man.
dude? He was killing it.
Yeah, he was.
Killing it
I
on
remember.
USD.
I got that LSU game
Yeah.
and I was like, boys, Daddy knows ball. And then they stopped tackling. And then
Stopped
I was
doing
like, oh,
everything.
yeah. Lynn can only teach these guys so much. And they revert back to their training of not ever tackling because Mr. Grinch was there for too long. The defense has to get better. The schedule, as far as your win column goes, is very front loaded. Like Missouri State, Georgia Southern, at Purdue, Michigan State, at Illinois is pretty tough. Then you got Michigan at Notre Dame, Nebraska at Nebraska, Northwestern, Iowa at Oregon, UCLA. So those first 4, you get to 4-0. Should get to 4-0. But then you could fall off again in the second half of your season, and it looks the exact same. And you hope Maava turns out to be whatever you expected him to be. You're bringing in the number one recruiting class. Do you know what their transfer was by chance?
I can find it.
Yeah, if you can find that. I can't remember what their transfer class was. But Cowherd's been on this pretty recently of like, hey, man, you are in per capita area in LA. You got a litter of talent and you're just not performing. Just not. Like, you're just not doing it. Like, and it's like 8-5, 7-6. Like this is USC, dog.
Yeah.
This is USC. And I get like West Coast, we're cool. Like we don't worry about football, but they do. That matters.
USC does.
Dude,
USC does.
Yeah.
Tell any old head USC fan that was there for the run in 03, 04, 05.
Yeah.
Tell them they don't care about football. What you ever seen as many celebrities concentrated in one area as a USC stadium when they're good, when they're winning? Will Ferrell's on the sideline. Like,
Caleb won you too many games. Like you were given a treasure chest with Caleb, and then their defense was so porous. It was the same thing, the exact same thing with Jaden. Like you just wasted so much talent with a defensive coordinator that must have some sort of blackmail on you. Grinch. It was a wasted time and like mismanagement of a coaching staff. That's my biggest point is like, I think the talent was there. I just don't think they were good with it, and they've burned it, and then guys get burnt out and they're moved on. But man, you were able to pay whatever at the time. He had a treasure chest in that capacity as well. And like, California taxes ain't going to deter a kid too much whenever they arrive on USC campus. Like, oh yeah, dog, I'm in LA. Lifestyle is still going to be pretty great. Like it's hard to sell Auburn, Alabama over LA for a few tax dollars in that perspective. Like you're getting good money both places and they'll adjust. But what Lincoln's done, man, defensively has just been atrocious. And I do think that class is going to buy him at least a year. But I think Urban Meyer might have shaped that differently whenever he went on Cowherd and was like, hey, imagine going 8-5 at Ohio State.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of those old heads, like you mentioned, believe that they are Ohio State. And by that, I mean, you're outside the SEC. You're in a big-time conference now. The Big Ten looked totality last year, I guess, better. And, Oregon's doing amazing things. Ohio State, Michigan's still Michigan. Like, go compete into this conference. And I hate to say it, like, kind of wipe out Michigan again this year. Like, they're going to be pretty solid average at best. Like, that's my expectation.
Starting a freshman quarterback.
Yep. You still got some things to figure out from last year. Yeah, you got the Ohio State win on your belt, but I mean, really, it was not a great season for them.
No.
And so USC should take that spot. Oregon's starting another new quarterback. I get Dan Lanning's one of my favorite coaches, but golly bum, man, you have got to turn this around quickly because the perception, especially among the media and the people in California now, are starting to feel that like, all right, we had Caleb. We didn't do anything with this.
Yeah.
We got a new defensive coordinator. Lynn produced, I thought, early on. Then it fell apart again. Bring us something. And with the 16-team playoff, like your expectations are higher and lower all at the same time. Like making the playoff is not crazy for them. If you're the fourth best team in the Big Ten, you probably should be close to making the playoff.
Yeah.
Because they want the 4 automatic bids is what they think they deserve. So if you're along those lines and there's nothing crazy happens in some new conferences, then this is your line. Like make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they will. Like I don't know how they escape with 9 wins if it's anywhere close to what it was last year. Because I don't even know if you're going to go at Nebraska and win. I don't think you're beating Notre Dame. I don't know if you're beating Illinois. That's a good team.
Yeah.
You're not beating Oregon.
Not beating Oregon.
I mean, that late in the season,
Right.
Dante Moore's like established. You're probably not beating Oregon. Are you going to beat Iowa? I mean, their win total's
getting better.
Their win total 7.5 this year for USC.
That's not great.
It's
a good line.
It's a great line.
That makes me want to take the under because, like,
yeah,
you're telling me they pretty much have to go flawless non-con and then split their Big Ten games.
Purdue's one of those weird places people lose at.
Yeah, definitely. I do have a question because I've wondered this for about 2 years. Is it possible that Lincoln Riley has a 2-year case of the yips related to when they lost the Cotton Bowl to Tulane in 2022? I don't know if anybody watched that game.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. Okay.
That was Caleb's first year.
Yeah, Caleb's first year.
Incredible.
Yeah. USC blows a 15-point lead with 4 minutes to go.
And that was Tulane had the quarterback. Who am I thinking
of?
They had a good quarterback that year. They had
a really good team this year. They had Tajay Spears that year.
Yeah,
Tajay Spears breakout year. Yeah. So for me, I don't think USC's been right since that game. Now, I know the Cotton Bowl is not a playoff game, or it wasn't back then.
No, it wasn't.
Right. But I just think some things you don't come back from. And it could not be true, but
that's a good point, though.
I think you're onto something with there. Because, and I don't think it's just USC, because USC's been bad for a while.
Yeah.
They were bad with Clay Helton. They weren't great with Edo. Like USC has been in the trenches for a minute, and they're trying to look for some kind of stability. And I understand if you want to hang on to Lincoln Riley for probably a little bit longer than you should. I know the number 1 recruiting class really helps his odds, but like, I don't fault USC for that, mostly because you just want to get back to a point where it feels good to win the games you know you're supposed to win. Like if you go in, you lose to Oregon this year, okay, we knew we were supposed to lose that game. But like, you better beat Northwestern. You should beat Iowa. If you don't beat Illinois, I'll give you that this year. They got a lot coming back. Luke Altmaier's back. Like,
that's a good.
Bielema's got that program.
Yeah,
he's got them kind of rolling because they built up some momentum last year. So if you lose to Illinois, that is what it is. Like, okay, if you lose to Notre Dame, that sucks. You don't want that. You're not going to be happy about it because it's a rivalry game. But you kind of get it.
You lost him 3 years in a row.
Look at where your program's at versus look at where Notre Dame's at. Notre Dame looks like they got better after they lost their head coach. USC's still trying to find some kind of stability. So, but one thing that is frustrating if you're a USC fan is Oregon had no problems with this transition to the Big Ten with a brand new head coach. This is Dan Lanning's, fourth year? Going into his fourth year?
Yep.
They won the Big Ten last year in a brand new conference. They've played for a Pac-12 title. Like, what has USC done? And what is Lincoln Riley known for? Like, if I sit here and ask you, what is Lincoln Riley known for? Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks.
Yep.
Okay? That's number one. For sure. Because number ones are going to be a positive. What else is he known for? Getting blown out in playoff games.
Yeah.
I mean, you watched him play. I get it. It was 2019 LSU. Probably not many teams beating them, but they got destroyed. Then they roll in Rose Bowl against Georgia. You've got a 14-point lead, 17-point lead, 31-14. Choke that one away.
Yep.
Worst defense I've ever seen in my life. That Baker,
it's not
Baker
even
got
just
shafted so bad.
And it's not even just like none of his defenses have been great. And it goes back to your point, Chase, about he held on to Alex Grinch for too long. Like, how long do you have to hold on to a bad coordinator? And I know we're kind of digging up past wounds, and Alex Grinch is gone, and he's made the move. But, like, it took him a long time to make that move.
He made the transition to USC with you.
Yeah.
That's the saddest thing.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you lost all these humongous games. You wasted Baker.
You wasted
Whatever
Kyler.
you think about Baker as a person, I don't care. But, like, Baker as a football player in college was one of the most unbelievable players we've ever had.
He was the first walk-on to win the Heisman.
Yeah.
Like, that's saying something.
Yeah.
Then you have Kyler Murray follow that up, win a Heisman. Like, and then you get another one with Caleb Williams. And you've done nothing. You've done nothing. You've done, in the grand scheme of things, Lincoln Riley has done nothing. He's won a lot of regular season games. And he's had 3 Heisman winning quarterbacks. So he's great from if you put out one of those graphics where it's like how much are our players getting played in the league? Lincoln's up there.
Mm.
But you got 3 Heisman winning quarterbacks.
Yeah.
How many of the rest of your players get paid?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
Couldn't tell you. But I mean,
exactly.
I think it goes well to your point, Chase. I think this is, it's about time. Like, I think it's the same thing with Brian Kelly. The excuses at a certain point are invalid because it's just time. This isn't UCLA. This isn't Cal who have one-off seasons in their past that are really good. This is a prestigious program, mind you, that just moved into a super conference and are really getting slapped around by everybody that they should be slapping around.
Should be.
Right.
Yeah, and you look at USC and the excuse for them is like, well, yeah, there's skill player talent out here, but it's really hard to get the big boys. Like, we're not getting the same big boys that like Iowa's getting, Nebraska getting. Like, it's hard to get them to fly all the way out here. Oregon ain't having any issues.
Yeah,
Oregon ain't having any issues at
Oklahoma
all.
too.
Getting them to fly up to the furthest west corner of the nation.
a
Yeah,
lot of weird people
Washington.
in Oregon too.
Yeah,
No.
and play football there. Like,
No
Oregon's
offense to
not
Oregon
having
people.
any issues with a brand new head coach. And you're telling me USC just can't recruit on the O-line and D-line? They just can't?
I mean, especially compared to what you've had in every year ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had so much talent come through. Like, yeah, tell these linebackers and defensive backs and linemen that you've had that played in the NFL. Tell those guys, oh yeah, just don't worry.
Tell Clay Matthews that.
Yeah.
See what his reaction is.
Just shrug. Just how they beat us. They got everybody we wanted.
They got them all.
Clay,
Yeah.
we just got out physical, man.
Yeah.
You what? At USC?
Yeah, dog. Try to sell that.
Huh?
one. I don't know, dog. Like, that's one that I'm still a little flabbergasted. Like how poorly it's actually gone. He is ranked real quick before we go off. I was looking this up. I was like, where do they rank in total defense? This is a big improvement. Last year they were 77th. From the prior year they were 119th, 77th.
That's a big improvement to go to 77th.
To go to 77th. They were 119th in the nation the year prior, and they averaged 432.8 yards against. They were 115th, 124th. And then he had, around the same, a little bit better some spots in Oklahoma. They did better at times, but it wasn't great.
But how many of those guys, it makes me wonder how many of those guys that they had better defenses with at Oklahoma were Bob Stoops guys.
Very true.
Older gene.
Like I know Lincoln Riley was there for long enough to get some of his own dudes at Oklahoma, but like how many of those guys in those early years where Lincoln was winning were Bob Stoops guys?
Yeah,
that just kind of stayed because
turned worse.
Yeah.
You want to hear? You want to hear some non-power forward defenses ranked ahead of USC?
Fire away,
please.
All right, Colorado.
You can stop.
Actually, it was actually ranked ahead of USC last year.
You can stop right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it gets. I mean, Colorado. They got the name. They got Coach Prime. Sure, why not? Navy.
They run the option, dog.
Service Academy, but were fun last year. Had a good run.
Fun. They were a good run.
At one point where everybody wanted both Army and Navy in the college football playoff. Nebraska with Dylan Raiola, or not?
No way.
No, that's Dylan Raiola, their starting quarterback. Yeah.
And then two of my favorite, Sam Houston, worst team in the country. Not per se, but I'm going to call them the worst team in the country.
Wow.
And James Madison.
And that's
post.
That's post James Madison.
Yeah. That was the company, and not even the company. That's who was beating them on defense last year from just a pure stop rate metric. That's who was beating USC. 19 power. I didn't even name them all. 19 power 4 defenses were ahead of USC. There are 19 teams that get less funding, they get less attention, they get less primetime games, and you couldn't beat any of them. Now, a few of them, you have those flukier
bad
great
schedules.
Yeah, like 2 or 3, like you could definitely see that because I'm sure, Navy or Miami, Ohio, they probably just matchups are in their favor. But 19 is probably a problem.
That's rough
at some point.
That's gross.
That's just disgusting, dude.
Wow.
And it's just,
I know.
I remember good USC. I do. I remember that. I remember Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and those teams. Like, shit, I even remember Sam Darnold. USC.
Yeah.
With Clay Helton.
Yeah.
And you're just.
They were good.
It may have only been that one time with Clay Helton, with Sam Darnold.
But still, you got one.
Yeah.
You got one.
Great.
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold was like, is he the guy? Like there was legit thoughts like Sam Darnold's going to save the Jets.
Yeah. Oh, buddy.
Started seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold's going to save the Jets. We're a long ways away from that.
Yeah.
I imagine we have very little camera juice left.
They're all plugged up. So I think
we're golden. Oh,
yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, wait, minus this guy. No, he's about 6%. But other than that,
hold on.
We're chill. Well, I mean, we're good on these two.
I love that.
We're not that guy was just the opening. So
sweet. Well, I need to wrap it up. I got daddy daycare tomorrow. Boys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of want to sit here and just talk all college football.
Yeah, dude. Anytime.
We got plenty. We have plenty of the rest.
June 16th.
June 16th.
Yeah.
We just spent an hour and 40 something minutes on college, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Boys, great night. For myself, Drew Rogers, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jefferson Guthrie. For the boys that are not here doing life things, we appreciate you. From the hot box that is the foundation, like and subscribe to Chat It Up Sports. We love you. We out.